obviously they don't play all that often because they're in opposite conferences, and that's the way basketball works. But in his last 2 games against them, he has had healthy double doubles. He's had 27 and 16 with 3 blocks last March, and then 2 March ago he had a 21 and 13. So that's some pretty heavy points there on DraftKings scoring. That would be 57 and 45 respectively. So interesting, and a different number than what I than what I had in my mind with what he would do. So I still am anointing you forever the Yusuf Nurkic guy. You always seem to know when to hone in on his playing style, and I really
the 57 Whiteside didn't play that game.
Correct.
But yeah, the last time he faced Whiteside was March of 2017, and he went for 21 points, 13 rebounds in 29 minutes.
Yeah, so just it's in the tool bag. It's in the realm of outcomes, and something that we can definitely consider. All right, now we're going back. My bad, my B, folks. We're going back to Boston and Detroit. I got a little excited and read the wrong blurb here for the injuries. So back to that. Aaron Baines out. Daniel Tice questionable, and that's our issues here for this game. The guy I really like, and I like looking, especially with these Eastern Conference teams that face each other a ton, which, of course, because they're in the same division, Detroit and Boston does. We've got a large sample size here with Andre Drummond, and in his last 7 games against Boston, he has topped 40 fantasy points in 6 of them, including 3 above 50 points. So that's pretty solid. We know he's changing his game around a little bit with some 3-point shooting. We know his assists are there, and it seems early on, Adam, and I was one of the naysayers last year that I wasn't really a fan of Blake Griffin playing with Andre Drummond because they both start the offense from the wing and they can facilitate, and they're big, so they get in each other's way quite a bit. Wow, early results are looking solid thus far, and they're both favorably, not crazily priced on DraftKings. Griffin at 8,800, Drummond at 8,700. Do you like either of these bigs for tonight?
Yes, kind of. So, I mean, I like them both in a vacuum. I think that it's a perfectly fine spot for Drummond. There's no reason to expect that he doesn't have success in this matchup. He's, obviously a very good rebounder. He's improved his offensive game quite a bit over the last couple of years as far as, free throw shooting. Now he's added 3-point shooting to his repertoire a little bit. And we know that he's going to play pretty big minutes. The problem is just that from a ceiling perspective, which in tournaments is all that you really care about, he doesn't have a higher ceiling than Whiteside does, and Whiteside's 1,700 less. Like, they both are capable of going out there and throwing up 60 points. So it's going to be tough for me to really prioritize getting Drummond into my lineups over Whiteside, or even over Nurkic, who can go out there and give me 50 for $2,000 less. So that's my only gripe with Drummond. For Blake, the price tags come down for the matchup, which is nice. He does have monster usage this year, up over 30%. He's still picking up assists. He's been very, very productive. You're seeing him kind of take assists away from Reggie Jackson and Ish Smith. And it's been surprising to see how many assists and potential assists Blake Griffin's getting, despite the fact that Detroit is running so many 2-point guard lineups with Jackson and Smith together. But that's how they've been running the offense. It's basically been through Blake, and that makes him a really high floor play any given night. But again, 9-game slate, lots of options. It kind of feels like you're paying a premium for Blake in a tough matchup against Boston. Not to say that he can't get there. And, I'm not saying to have, no exposure to him, but it just kind of feels like there's going to end up being better point per dollar options than, an $8,800 guy facing the Celtics.
All right. Just to add a challenge, and if Josh doesn't believe in my jinx capabilities, he certainly will now. It looks like the YouTube link keeps changing itself. So we lose our audience, then they can find the new link and they come back at them. We've now got 3 shows out there that we've done today. Does that mean we can submit 3 time cards? Oh, goodness gracious. Looking at our Boston counterparts here, we've got a question in chat. Do you like any Tatum or Jaylen Brown in this matchup?
Tatum is my preferred option to Brown pretty much always. He's just really taking a step forward. He's getting more usage. He's doing everything. But I still don't know that I'm going to end up with that much of him at 6,700. Like, I think if I'm going to someone from Boston, I'd rather go to Kyrie at one of the cheaper price tags we're ever going to get him at 7,100 against a Detroit backcourt defense that has, Reggie Jackson and Ish Smith, neither of who are strong defenders, neither of who are going to be able to do much to slow down Kyrie. Still getting, plenty of usage from Irving. So I don't have a problem with Tatum. I think that Jalen's price point is nice. Jalen, I guess, certainly someone you can rotate in if you're max entering tournaments because he does have a ceiling. It's just hard to ever trust any of these Boston wings because they have so many bodies. So not a whole lot of confidence in Brown, but there's certainly a ceiling. Kyrie is pretty easily my favorite guy from Boston, though, and I do like Horford quite a bit as well.
All right. Anything else from this one, or shall we continue on to talk about Chicago and Atlanta?
No, I think that's it from this one.
All right. 231 over under here. This is checking in at the highest on the day. We have Atlanta favored by 5.5 at home. We know that they're dealing with some injuries. Still no word on any timetable return for Collins. We know that some minor guys, Patrice is out still. We know that Justin Anderson's still out. Those are not really going to affect a ton of stuff. We've got Trae Young, who is a phenomenal tournament play. He is the massive boom or bust guy in his rookie season here, where he's just going to get the volume. And if the shots are going in, we've already seen him with the 60 fantasy point game. We've also seen him with the equivalent of like a 3 for 17 game. Taurean Prince has looked like he might make a step towards the next level. And then just when you thought he was done, Kent Bazemore reasserts himself, Adam. And he's got, in his last 2 games, 40 and 53 DraftKings points. He's been chucking it from deep. 19 three-pointers attempted, 7 made, which is good to see. And then he hasn't really, a lot of this has been based on scoring, a little bit of rebounding, a little bit of assists like he always does. And it's not been overweighted on his blocks and steals, which he usually gets, about a steal a game and about 0.7 blocks per game over his time. But it's not really buoyed by that. I kind of like Bazemore this evening, particularly against an absolutely decimated Chicago team at 5,700, shooting guard, small forward eligible. That means he can check the box at 5 different positions for us on DraftKings. Thoughts on Bazemore and any of the other Atlanta starters?
I love Atlanta. I love everybody from Atlanta. You mentioned Bazemore. He's been very good on the offensive end. His price tag's still lower than his ceiling, and he is most likely going to be tasked with defending a very high usage player in Zach LaVine, at least, part of the time that they're on the floor together, which increases his opportunities for defensive stats and gives him an even higher ceiling. So, yeah, I like Bazemore. I like Taurean Prince a lot as well. I expect him to play, 32, 33 minutes. And he's someone that also can go off. I don't think I would play Prince and Bazemore together. I kind of expect that one of them has a monster game and the other one kind of has a middling game. But I think it's a really good spot for both. You mentioned Trae Young as a really good tournament play. I think he's a strong cash play as well at only 7,200. He has the most secure minutes on the team, I think, with the way that they've been running their rotations. You have a lot of wings that can potentially eat into minutes if, let's say, Bazemore is playing poorly or Prince is playing poorly. There's a lot of different routes that Atlanta can go to, but that's not really the case with Trae Young. We've seen Jeremy Lin's minutes be pretty limited, not really playing alongside Young for most of the season. Pulling up their last game now to see if that changed, and it didn't. Jeremy Lin just plays backup point guard right now, and that means that Young is going to get as many minutes as he can handle. Really, he was in foul trouble in that game against Dallas, but in general, he's going to play 33 to 35 minutes in a really, really nice matchup here against Chicago. So I love Trae Young. I like the matchup for Alex Len here against Wendell Carter and Cristiano Felicio. You can't really go wrong with this team. Even DeAndre Bembry, I think potentially off the bench could be a good play. He don't look too much into how Bembry did in that game against Dallas. He was a primary beneficiary of Trae Young's foul trouble. He played the final 10 minutes of the second quarter after Young picked up I believe it was his third third foul. So the 29-30 minutes for Bembry is an anomaly, but still should play probably 22 to 23 here against the Bulls. There's just I love everybody on Atlanta. I would expect that I have at least one or two Atlanta guys in most of my lineups tonight.
And that absolutely makes sense when you consider Atlanta's playing at the fastest pace thus far this season, and the Chicago Bulls have the second worst defensive efficiency rating. So those are two great things that we can put together here. I really like I'm picking up what you're putting down here, Adam. Switching over to the pivot position with Wendell Carter Jr., he was not good last night. He started off relatively decently and then ended up only playing 18 minutes. Still got 19 DK points. Didn't exactly kill us. He's at 4,300 again. I'm still going to give him a little bit of consideration, but I'm feeling just a skosh burned by Mr. Wendell last night. And then the other thing we got to remember is Bobby Portis is out. So that's going to free up some hefty minutes for as long as he's out, because they're missing Markkanen as well, and Chris Dunn's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Denzel Valentine hasn't started. It's just kind of a mess here for Chicago. So if we look at Chicago, clearly Zach Attack's going to be one of our better options, but he is priced appropriately. We've got Jabari Parker, who has been middling at best, but he's a guy who could rip off 45 or 50 fantasy points. And then we have Cameron Payne, who a little bit hit or miss, but he is the only real guard option that they have to handle the ball. So we've got to think that he should see 24 to 28 minutes just kind of as a consistent baseline. He's going to put up close to double-digit shots. Ideally, his teammates make a few baskets when he passes to them, and until he gets probably up to 55, 6,000, I'm still going to give him consideration on DraftKings. What do you like here from Chicago?
Yeah, I mentioned loving Atlanta. I love this side of it too. I think that there's more question marks from Chicago, and it sucks that their game last night was a blowout because it didn't really give us a chance to see exactly how their rotation is going to go without Bobby Portis. So we're still kind of guessing, and that means that in tournaments, I'm going to have exposure to a lot of different Bulls, and I'm going to be utilizing rules and Fantasy Cruncher to do that. Like, I don't want to play Chandler Hutchison and Jabari Parker in the same lineup, but I do want to play Hutchison and Parker, both. I don't want to play Wendell Carter and Cristiano Felicio in the same lineup, but I do think that they're both reasonable plays because they're playing 48 minutes at center or close to it. It's just a matter of who's getting them. We saw Carter basically get benched in game, only playing 18 minutes last night. Felicio played 30. Part of that, I would assume, was the scoreboard, but part of it also, I think, is just Carter played awful. But Carter at 4,300, I think, is still where I'm going to end up with. I'll obviously have more Carter than Felicio in this game at 4,300. It's just worth noting that Felicio is the direct beneficiary if Wendell Carter plays poorly. And then looking at the power forward rotation, you had Chandler Hutchison start the game, and then Parker, play off the bench. They had said before the game that they expected Parker to be in the closing unit, which I think makes sense, but we didn't get to see that because of the blowout. So you got 26 minutes from Parker. He left the fourth quarter with 7 minutes to go. So if you were to give him those 7 extra minutes, you get, about 33 minutes, which is where I had him projected. So that makes sense. The concern for me would be that in the first half, Chandler Hutchison closed the half. So I'm not 100% certain that Parker closes the fourth, even though I believe that he would. So I'll probably end up projecting Parker for about 32 minutes and Hutchison for the other 20, and Hutchison for about 26. But I think that both of them are certainly in play. Good plays. Like, Parker is going to go out there and chuck. We know that's what he does. Chandler Hutchison's only $3,400, and at the very least should probably play around 24 minutes in this game. Not a high usage guy, but 3,400 is just such a nice price tag for anyone that's going to go out and play significant minutes in a fast-paced game. So both of those guys are good. And then Cameron Payne, I think, is just really good. He played almost 18 first half minutes. He played 30 minutes through 3 quarters, and he played 18 minutes in the first half. If you extrapolate that out to a full game and even try and be a little bit pessimistic, you're still looking at 33 or 34 minutes from Payne in a really nice spot here against Trae Young. Zach LaVine obviously is a usage monster here. There's a lot of different ways to go to Chicago here. I think I'll probably, even without forcing it, I'll end up naturally with a lot of like mini game stacks from this game, just because there are a lot of underpriced guys in a fast-paced game against two teams that don't play defense.
And that's one of the good things. I know you love to watch the game flow box score type things. And for those of you following along at home, popcornmachine.net is where a lot of us go to. There's about 4 or 5 sites out there that do this, but this is the first one I found, so it's the one I'm used to reading, so I generally default to here. But you can quickly go on a game and you can see who's been in what rotation. It tells you how many points they've scored on each turn in the court. You can hover over it. It gives you minutes when they came in and out and if they got fouls. The second number tells you just kind of a combination of their other peripheral stats, just to give you an idea if they were active in any way on the floor. But the one thing I like about looking at these real quick is you want to see, as Adam was mentioning, who's in the blowout, who wasn't. And we can see that basically Zach and Campaign didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. We can hopefully infer, but we're still getting questions about it, but we'd like to infer that the flip will happen with Parker and with Hutchison. But we don't know that for sure. And what Adam was saying is something I just want to highlight. If you're doing a lot of lineups, there are many nifty tools there inside of Fantasy Cruncher, and you can set up a little rule or a little group that says play no more than one of these two players, and then you wouldn't end up with both Hutchison and Parker on the same team. You can do that with, I don't want, let's say, Drew Holiday and Elfrid Payton on the same team, or I don't want, other guys that I don't want Griffin and Drummond on the same team. You can just set up these little rules that'll make it so very easily you're not going to end up with that. So you're not squinting and looking through all the different lineups that you create. So just point it out there. Use the promo code NBA Strategy and you get a full week of Awesemo.com premium content. That does now include the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. You can try your hand at mass multi-entry. You've got a couple different projection sources here at Awesemo.com. You've got the FanVice projections that came over with those of us from FanVice. Those are run by Andrew Barron, also known as Hot Magic. You get Josh Engelman's vaunted projections that he has been tweaking like a mad scientist for the last 4 or 5 years on. And then if you want to try your hand at hockey, because it is hockey night in Canada, I will be doing this, you get Jay Kari's hockey projections. So you can muck around with all of this. And of course, there's NFL Sunday. So just saying, you want to try us out, give it a shot. Promo code NBA Strategy. Get your 1 week free. All right, Adam. We've
I got one more thing to point out.
Oh, perfect. Point away. Point. Every time you point, 3 fingers are pointing back at you. So this better be a good one.
I assume that people will probably mention him throughout the day or there'll be questions about him. Antonio Blakeney played 22 minutes last night. He was the direct sub for Zach LaVine. He played 0 minutes alongside LaVine. That does not bode well for future minutes for him, since we know LaVine's going to play 37 minutes. I don't think Blakeney's a good play. He benefited entirely from the blowout minutes. So don't like that. And then Justin Holiday played 19 first half minutes. He played 0 minutes in the fourth quarter. I think that we can continue projecting Justin Holiday for about 38 minutes.
All right. They were asking about Dwayne Dedmon. He's been coming off injury. He's back. Will he play tonight? Will he be on a minute limit? If we just kind of look at the game flow, he played 3 different stints. In Atlanta's last game, he played middle of the first, middle of the second. He finished the fourth, then got a little bit of, or the third, then got a little bit of a break because there's a break between third and fourth quarter. So technically 4 stints. Came back out there for the start of the fourth and then did not play after that. So again, he put up 14 minutes there, just a couple of points. I think there's plenty of other options to look to, but he is somebody that we definitely want to consider his health because he was just a double-double monster last year. The main concern is we still don't have John Collins. So when he comes back, that's going to shift that dynamic. And then we also have Alex Len. So he could, Dedmon's a better defender than Len, but they could. Do you see many lineups where Len and Dedmon would be on the court at the same time? I'm not seeing that in my head.
I think they could against bigger front courts. We know that Dedmon can actually stretch the floor a bit. Okay. So against bigger front courts, I think they could. But the biggest, for Dedmon right now, the concern is just how it affects Len. And they had said going into that last game that he was going to be limited to around 14 minutes. I haven't seen anything on Dedmon yet. I would like to think that he plays 18 minutes and that Len still plays 30. But Len is still cheap enough at 5,300 that even if Dedmon were to get 22 minutes and Len gets 26, I still think Len ends up being a pretty decent upside option in tournaments. So for now, until we see Dedmon really start to overtake Len potentially, I'm gonna keep going with Len and assume that Dedmon is kind of on the back burner. And then Alex Poitras is also out, which, not that this is a front court where they would do it, but that would potentially also make it more possible to play the two of them alongside each other. But again, against a Jabari Parker or Chandler Hutchison Ford, I don't expect that to happen.
All right, continuing on, we've got Philly, Charlotte coming in on the back-to-back. Kemba Walker is sublime. Much tougher matchup. Not only will he have to deal with Ben Simmons, top of the key, he's going to have Joel Embiid waiting for him in the paint when he drives. Joel Embiid has a bit of a sore ankle. No word on if he's going to be out, so we're just going to assume this is one of the dings or normal wear and tear that the basketball players see. I don't see anybody being able to, even contains too strong of a word, to stay in front of, perhaps, of Joel Embiid amongst the many Charlotte options here. Remember, anything that you're going to be looking at, you'll want to see if Dwight Howard was in the mix from previous games. But this one, Adam, come on, Cody Ziller, Willie Hernan-Gomez, they're not going to do anything to get in the way here. So we've got to like Embiid. Simmons a little spendy, but when you compare him to some of the other top options on the slate, all of a sudden looks reasonable. What do you put the odds of a Ben Simmons triple-double tonight? Better than 50-50?
No, but probably like 40.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I went a little aggressive there.
I don't think I'm ever going to project someone to like actually get a triple-double, but outside of, like Giannis. But no, Simmons, the price tag's so cheap on Simmons relative to other guys. And we'll talk about, LeBron later. But this is one of the guys that I kind of mentioned, Anthony Davis being tough to get to. Obviously not the same exact position, but on DraftKings with the multi-position eligibility, you more or less can play Simmons over Davis. And you're talking about nearly a $2,000 price discount for just a walking triple-double. Like, the guy is just so good. He does so much on the floor, even though he can't shoot. And so I do like Simmons quite a bit. I really like Embiid. Like you said, I don't expect Charlotte to really be able to do anything to slow him down. Only issue with him is that he is expensive, and especially in tournaments, center is a position that I prefer to either pay down or go to the mid-range at, because there are so many high upside guys that possess a lot of volatility. And that's something that I like to take on in tournaments, because I think it increases the upside of your lineup as a whole, as opposed to paying up at a position where there's probably going to be a mid-range guy that crushes. So that's my only issue with Embiid. But matchup-wise, there's nothing for me not to like. Beyond that, though, Philadelphia, kind of a mess. Markelle Fultz at 4,400. Maybe at some point in his career he'll play well. I don't know. Maybe not. But it's a cheap price tag, but I don't really see myself going there too often. JJ Redick's priced up higher than I would like to play him at, as long as Embiid and Simmons are healthy. Robert Covington is an okay price, but it's not a spot that I really love him. I don't know. I'm not all that excited for Philadelphia outside of Ben Simmons.
All right. Even against Dwight Howard in the 3 meetings last year when he was with Charlotte, Embiid was just absolutely phenomenal. Averaged 30 minutes per game, averaged 17 shot attempts per game, 2.7 blocks, 3.1 assists, and then 15 rebounds per game. Pretty good, or just shy of 15 rebounds. So that was with Dwight Howard and his. Never mind. We're not going to talk about that. I'll save my Dwight Howard hatred until he torpedoes a game for the Washington Wizards, which shouldn't take long if he ever gets back on the court here. Jeremy Lamb is someone that I thought was going to have more of an impact this season. There were whispers coming out that this was the year he was going to be, I don't know that unleashed is the right word, because I don't really ever see him being unleashed. And we in the DFS world always like him because we get him on the, hey, so-and-so's hurt, he's $4,300, let's play him. And I'm not overly enthralled with what he's done. He's been an absolutely solid player for them. He's averaging in the mid-20s for minutes. He's averaging double-digit points. He's chipping in with some rebounds, getting some steals, some blocks, some hustle stats here. but I'm really not doing cartwheels for him as a DFS player because he's only top 25 fantasy points once. That's not great.
Yeah, Lamb's a tough one. It's not a spot tonight that I particularly love, but he is a player that I'm going to just keep playing at his current price point because the price point's been dropping as the season has gone on as a result of him, averaging not, in the mid-20s in minutes, like you said. But I don't expect that to continue because I think he's just run really, really bad in terms of his playing time. There was a game early in the season where the second unit went nuts with Nick Batum at center and Malik Monk stayed on the floor for like the entire last 14 minutes of the game. There have been multiple games where it's blown out and Lamb has missed his entire fourth quarter run. He still is playing, 15, 16 minutes in the first half and is like always on his way to playing 30 or 32 full minutes. But then something happens and he doesn't get there. So I'm still projecting him for those minutes and his price tag's just falling. So he's someone that I'm high on going forward as long as he stays in like the $4,700 or $4,800 range. This isn't the best spot for him, I don't think, but it's, the price tag's still appealing. So basically a secondary option. I don't like him, as much as I like Kemba. It's a tough matchup for Kemba for sure, but the price tag is just too appealing for a guy that in competitive games is playing, 37, 38 minutes a night. He has, going back to last season without Dwight Howard on the floor, over a 30% usage rate, over a 30% assist percentage. That's continued this year. He's been an absolute monster. We've had a couple of games where Kemba's put up 50 plus in, 3 quarters. And it's just, the price tag just leaves so much room for upside, even in a difficult matchup against the Sixers. And then Marvin Williams, I think, actually is an interesting value play that will certainly go overlooked. He, most nights, is going to play 28 to 30 minutes, but he's just really, really inexpensive. And he's a guy that, if his shot's falling and he runs into an extra couple of rebounds, he does have 30 fantasy point upside.
All right, I'm just checking. A few people are mentioning that Joel Embiid is out. I'm not seeing it confirmed. If you're going to say someone's out, please do feel free to sort aside, because it's never fun if we got to take time to look it up here ourselves. Let's see. We do know, of course, that he turned his ankle in practice. They said he is questionable. Will be a game time decision. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter that's saying that he is going to be out. So please, no conjecture in the chat or target it as I suspect he may be out or he might be. Let's see. In the event he's out, while we're on that, would you even consider Amir Johnson?
I think Muscala would end up getting more time. But either one of them, I mean, as a value play in tournaments, could have a path to a good ceiling. It probably would just depend on who's playing well. I think I would prefer Muscala, though. He's actually $100 less expensive. He's kind of overtaken Amir Johnson in their rotation, their front court rotation. So I would give preference to Mike Muscala there. I do think that it would actually benefit. It would obviously benefit the entire Charlotte team because it would take Embiid's defensive presence off the floor. It would make Kemba a much more appealing play for me, and I already like him a lot. But even like Marvin Williams, I think you could see get a couple of minutes at the 5, or a couple extra minutes at the 5 if Embiid is out. So it certainly would change the entire impact of this game if he's out. You would see JJ Redick become a much better play. Since last season, Redick has like a 25% usage rate when he's on the floor without Embiid. And yeah, so it would change the entire scope of this game if Embiid sits.
All right, and then of course we've got Dario Saric as well, who would be another one of those guys that received that boost. He and Redick are in the mid 5,000s on DraftKings. They're also reasonably priced over there on Yahoo in the low 20s. So that's something that we want to keep in mind. Saric often gets overlooked on draft as well. You can get him as your second forward in the later rounds, 4th or 5th rounds in 6-mans, and I don't know what they're running today. I'm guessing they're probably going to do 8-mans because there are 9 games. I haven't played any of those today, but give draft a try out there. It's not a bad product at all because each player can only be on one team, no overlap. I love that. A lot of strategy, a lot of thinking. It's a good time over there. Adam, they're asking if, and I've got the answer, are there cash game plays recommended in Osmo Premium? Why, yes, there are. One in the deep dive, Adam and Lofty alternate days, and they talk about the best plays on the slate, which in basketball generally mean best point per dollar, which equates to best cash game plays. They also talk a lot about a lot of tournament play strategies. excuse me, if somebody's going to be in or out. Plus, you get Osmo's report cards. He gives an A through F grade for players, both for value and potential. And Fast Eddie Fear does the same thing. Fast Eddie actually breaks down A through, like we used to get in school, A through F on cash game plays and A through F on tournament plays. So by triangulating with those, you can easily come down to a really quick core and spot the 4 or 5 guys that you're like, all right, this is my baseline that I need to do for this. And then you can make your little switches here or there, or pivot based upon news. But absolutely, there's a lot of great minds here at Osmo.com talking basketball. I definitely believe we are second to none with the knowledge and the depth of our bench strength here at Osmo. Promo code NBA Strategy, 1 week free premium. All right, Indiana, Cleveland. Feels like these teams play each other like all the time. Oh, wait, because they do. Because they're in the Eastern Conference and they're foes, and they got to get 4 games in per year. Kevin Love, questionable with the sore left foot. This is one of these little annoying things that he could be a game-time decision. I'm leaning towards he may actually not play, Adam. That's a problem. So let's look at him playing or not playing. Because if he's playing, this is a great matchup. We still want to take bigs against the Indiana front court. Do you believe he will be in or out this evening?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a total guessing game on that. But if he's in, then yeah, he becomes a really good play. You downgrade Larry Nance, you downgrade Chetty a bit because of the usage. You basically downgrade everyone else on the team if Kevin Love's in, because he is such a usage monster. But he himself becomes a very good play. If he's out, then it's basically an upgrade to everyone. You should see a little bit more run for Larry Nance. He's a point per minute monster when he gets playing time. Chetty has let us down 2 games in a row, but his price tag keeps free falling. And as much as I hate him, I still probably would end up playing him, especially if Love is out. The backcourt rotation is still going to be a mess. You have, George Hill, Clarkson, and Colin Sexton all potentially doing well, but most likely not. Clarkson would remain the highest upside guy there because he's just going to chuck shots, especially if Kevin Love's not on the floor. Colin Sexton, I would rank ahead of George Hill because he's younger. He theoretically should be getting more playing time. I expect him to get more playing time going forward. So yeah, I mean, and then Kyle Korver, like if Love's out, you can even look to Kyle Korver a little bit because he's going to end up needing to space the floor for this team. He's probably not going to shoot 4 for 7 from 3 and 7 for 10 from the field like he did last game. So he's not someone that you should be like, you shouldn't look at it and be like, oh, if Love's out, Korver's going to score 27 points again, because that's probably not going to happen. But the point being, if Love's out, it opens the door for, basically everyone to at least have some tournament appeal. If Love's in, it's a downgrade for everyone. And Love ends up being clearly my favorite guy on the team.
All right. The next little part we want to unwrap on all of this, Adam, is the actual front court here for the Pacers. We've got Sabonis, who has only topped 22 minutes once. In descending order, he's played 21, 17, 22, and 29 minutes in the opener. On the other side, we've got Miles Turner, who may actually be getting a little bit more of the playing time. He's got 26, 28, 27, 27, only played 20 in that first one. Feels like he's going to get a little bit of the edge here. He is a little bit cheaper, and I actually do like this matchup for him against Cleveland. Is he someone that you would consider as we start off looking here at the Pacers?
Yeah, I always have some interest in Turner because his lack of playing time relative to a lot of other centers keeps his price tag down a little bit, but he's still a productive player when he's on the floor. You're seeing him play a little bit next to Sabonis, which kind of increases his minutes floor. But yeah, I mean, it's never someone I'm going to prioritize just because I don't really want to play someone that I'm hoping I get 30 minutes from at center when there are so many guys that I can get more minutes from or that I think are a little bit more productive than Turner is. But it's not a bad spot for him, and I have no issue with him.
All right. Oladipo at 7,700, somewhat intriguing. We do know that Tyreke Evans will miss this game. He was late to practice yesterday, Adam. What is this? Are we reenacting the movie Hoosiers? Come on. You can't be late to practice. You're going to miss the whole game. See what I did? Hoosiers, Indiana?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But yeah, Oladipo. Okay, gotcha.
Wait, you've never seen Hoosiers?
No, why do you sound surprised?
Because it's an iconic movie, Adam.
Yes, and I watched tons of movies, as you found out over the last couple of years.
Oh, all right, chat. Please let Adam know what your favorite sports movie is, because he needs a list, because he's going to be put in timeout here pretty soon. So Tyreek is out. That gives the boost there to Oladipo. Anybody else that might see a little bit of love? Does this mean that, oh, good God, Thaddy Daddy at 4,700? I just really don't see him producing more than 25 fantasy points, but he can get a double-double, and that would be somewhat intriguing in this game.
I mean, Oladipo is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. He would be even if Evans were out. I mean, if Evans were in, but Evans out certainly doesn't hurt. Oladipo's been a casualty of a lot of Indiana non-competitive games. Not to say that this game necessarily will be, but I'm certainly going to project it like it will be. And that would give Oladipo, 36, 37 minutes. He has a 31.5% usage rate this year. It's a really good matchup against Cleveland. The price tags come down to 7,700 on DraftKings. Oladipo, absolutely a core play for me in any format. Really, really love him here. As far as Evans being out, it's just kind of more usage for the second unit. I think you could see more minutes for Corey Joseph potentially. Not that he's a high productivity guy, but I could see him playing more minutes, alongside Darren Collison, which actually Darren Collison, I think, is the guy that probably goes completely overlooked today. But his price tags come down as well. We've seen the prices on these Indiana guys drop because of how many blowouts they've played to start the season, and it's limited their minutes. But you have Darren Collison, playing. He played 8.5. He played like 13 first half minutes against the Spurs. We've seen other games where he plays 14 or 15. I think if you're looking at 26 to 30 minutes from Darren Collison, he's obviously not the most productive fantasy player, but $4,300 is just too low of a price tag, I think, and a nice spot against this Cleveland team. People generally are kind of slow to react to guys like that aren't normally on their radar and then that have seen their price tags just kind of free fall and plummet. So I expect that I'll be overweight on Darren Collison today and feel pretty good about it.
All right. Speaking of free falling prices, George Hill, I didn't even see him because he's dropped all the way down to 4,400. He has topped 20 fantasy points just once in his last 4 games. That price is somewhat intriguing, but I'll tell you what, Adam, on DraftKings, I think I'd rather play Jordan Clarkson than George Hill. Is that a crazy take?
No, I would rather play Clarkson. I would rather play Sexton. Hill's just not a very productive player, and then you also factor in that Cleveland has incentive to get Colin Sexton more minutes. I mean, that's a big reason I think why we saw Sexton play like 16 minutes to close out Cleveland's last game. There's just no incentive for them to run George Hill out there big minutes. He's not a particularly productive player, even when he does get that playing time. So it ends up just being a guy that outside of, maybe sprinkling into 150 tournament lineups, there's no reason to ever have massive exposure to him. And I don't think the slate's any different.
All right, we're going to throw out some movies to see if you've seen them or not. Major League.
Yes.
Bull Durham.
Yes. In pieces, because I that's a movie that I watched within the last year, and I watched it when I was going to bed, so I fell asleep 3 different times, but I think I did finish it.
Okay. Varsity Blues?
Nope.
The Replacements?
Yes.
Remember the Titans?
Yes.
That looks like it's it. Okay, so you've seen a few. Yeah. Okay. Just not. Have you seen The Natural?
Actually, I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Robert Redford, Glenn Close?
No. I mean, I know who's in it, but I don't think I've seen it.
Okay. All right. Well, just when I thought I was going to give you a hall pass, sadly no.
Haven't seen Rudy. Haven't seen Hoosiers.
Yeah, Rudy's. It's Rudy's good once. More than that, it's not. What about Invincible, the Vince Papale story?
I think I've seen it. I think I saw it when I was a kid. I'm not 100%. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I think it was on Disney Channel or something.
Probably.
And I saw it when I was 7.
All right. Back at hand here. Let's see. Does anyone know why the video is starting mid-sentence? Because I'm a tech jinx there. This is for Jack Perry. The link kept changing itself, so we've started 3 different times on the show. That you go back to the Osmo YouTube channel, you'll see 3 different ones. You'll catch up on the appropriate games. You can, if you're in the premium chat, hit us up there. We'll answer it. And then also, we did a podcast last night by position, not by game. But if you want to get a little refresher course of everything as you're out wandering around doing errands or yard work today, definitely give that a look. Speaking of disappointing, Adam, that would be Phoenix. That would be Phoenix. Just not good times there. Memphis not far behind. We know that Devin Booker is going to be out with a strained hamstring. Could be out for a week, could be longer. DeAndre Ayton is dealing with a sore ankle, but we don't know for sure his availability. And then strained hip is Ryan Anderson. Those are the dinged up guys for Phoenix. On the Memphis side, we know that JaMychal Green is out for a while with that broken jaw. Chandler Parsons, let's see, he's played 3 times this year, so he's probably going to have to sit until Christmas, I guess, to rest and recover and recuperate. Actually, he's out for a week with that knee injury. Is that contract just is an absolute albatross, right? Because he was actually good when he got that contract. Or yeah, I would say he was like a good third guy on a reasonably contending team, right? That is
yeah. Parsons was fine before he started getting hurt every day.
Jesus, that's just a mess. So, and the fact that he's on Memphis, where everybody always is hurt, that doesn't really help him. What do you like from this game? Is that easier to say? Because there's a lot I don't like from this game.
Yeah, I mean, I like a couple of Memphis guys here. Well, yeah, actually, I think there's a lot to like from this game with Booker out too. So from the Memphis side, you obviously get a nice matchup against a Phoenix team that doesn't play much defense. You have Parsons out, like you said, and you have JaMychal Green out. So Garrett Temple, I think, should be penciled into big minutes here. We saw him playing, a lot of minutes early in the season. Last game, he was questionable to play, ended up playing, but they also said that they would limit his stints. He also dealt with foul trouble. So I'm not taking much away from that game against Sacramento in terms of Garrett Temple minutes. I think it's pretty likely he played 30 in that game. I think it's pretty likely you see him go back out there and play 34 to 36 here, which, while he's not a super high efficiency player from a fantasy standpoint, 36 minutes is 36 minutes at $4,000. And he has at least shown somewhat of a ceiling this year. He is shooting the ball a bit. So I think Garrett Temple is a perfectly fine value play. Jaren Jackson is priced up a little bit. It's not as appealing a play as it was, but it's still a spot where I think he could go out there and have a nice game. And then Marc Gasol, obviously he's expected to play. I think you pencil him in for 34, 35 minutes, handles the ball, facilitates a lot in the offense, gets plenty of usage. So I like him. Mike Conley as well, people tend to overlook, but still a lot of usage here for Mike Conley, projected for about a 26% usage rate. Should play 32 minutes here. So a secondary play, but I think there's a lot you can go to from the Memphis side. And then with Phoenix, you have Devin Booker out, so I think you should see more usage for DeAndre Ayton, who is questionable. But if he plays, I think you should see more usage for him. Josh Jackson needs to step into a big role here. He should get a lot more playing time. You're going to see him more as a playmaker like he was last season, in addition to getting a ton of usage without Booker on the floor. So I think he becomes a top value play. And then, kind of secondary options in guys like Isaiah Cannon and TJ Warren.
Thank you for mentioning Mike Conley. It made me go look and see at his game logs, and it reminded me just how good he actually has been in his career. He has this season, through a handful of games, he's averaging 19, 5, and 6, approximately, with the steal per game. Those are some pretty good numbers. 3 straight with 40 fantasy points. If you're someone like me that is potentially going to dismiss him, that's one of those other guys that you can get probably in the later, if not last round, of some of your 6-man drafts over there on draft.com. And that's the kind of value you want to look for. Don't go by their rankings. Their rankings are their own projections. Find a different source, because oftentimes when you compare the two, you'll see that they have some egregiously ranked things. I don't mind when they do that, because it means there are some better plays down below, and they run more of just kind of a higher level algorithm. They're not trying to get it right. They're just trying to give a pick list to everybody. Yikes. I just can't get myself to go to Josh Jackson. And I remember last year he was one of those guys that we played an absolute boatload of here. So I went.
You have 6 hours to convince yourself that you need to go to Josh Jackson.
Well, I did. I don't need it because I went and looked at his game logs to finish out last year. And if you look at late April, these are DraftKings points: 42, 44, 38, 37, 36, 36, 33, 31, 33, 54, 29, 33. He's going to be a core play for me. That's all it took, Adam.
Yeah.
That's all it took. I'm with the program. Anything else from this one? We got to keep cruising along here. We got 2 games left, but we've got Evan Silva coming up here at 1:30, so we want to give people a chance to get a little bit of break, get some lunch before they come back for that show. The Lakers and San Antonio. The Lakers will have Rondo back. Brandon Ingram is still out for one more game. This one is kind of an intriguing one here because if I'm reading the chart right, it says that from a defensive efficient, I've got to be reading that backwards. No, I'm not. San Antonio is the 30th team for defensive efficiency. They're the worst team, Adam, and it's not even close.
Yeah, they suck. It makes sense because you look at who their quality defenders were, and it was Kawhi Leonard and DeJounte Murray primarily. And Leonard obviously is gone. Murray's out for the year. So you're seeing this team struggle defensively. You're seeing them really, really struggle in transition. They, last I checked, were second worst in terms of points per possession in transition this season. And people still kind of shy away from taking guys against them because basically for as long as DFS has existed, it's been a tough matchup, but that's not the case this season. I'm really interested to see where ownership goes in this game because these two teams played, like 5 days ago or whatever, and it was a really, really popular game. The game went to overtime, which boosted it even more, but the circumstances surrounding this game are completely different. So I'm kind of interested to see if people just kind of blindly pile back onto it or not. But you have guys priced up a little bit more. Aldridge is up to 9K on DraftKings. DeRozan's at 8,500. I think that they're both perfectly fine plays. DeRozan has a really high usage rate so far. He also has a high assist percentage. LaMarcus Aldridge is basically second fiddle and getting tons of looks in this offense as well. But they're just expensive relative to some other guys on this slate, whereas they were core plays for everyone 5 days ago because it was a different slate and they were a little bit cheaper. And then on the Lakers side, it's a nice matchup for them against this Spurs team that struggles defensively, but you do have Rondo back, which is one more guy handling the ball. You have price tags coming up. When these teams played before, Kyle Kuzma was something like $5,500. Now he's $6,900. JaVale McGee is still reasonably priced at $5,600, but Rondo's at $6K, Lonzo's at $6K, Lance Stevenson is at $4K, continues to be a fluke that I'm not going to play. But it's just that the price tags on these guys are a little bit less appealing. Even LeBron has gone from, like 10-6 to 11-1 and is on a slate with Giannis and with Anthony Davis. So it's tough for me, at least right now, to really prioritize these guys. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but there's just legitimate question marks because LeBron he's not going to force himself to take over a game. I don't think. I think that he's still willing to, just kind of let things play out and see how they go with this team. So Rondo being back is a little bit less ball handling responsibility for LeBron, combined obviously with Lonzo being out there. So it's a spot where I think that the Lakers as a team score a lot of points. I'm just not really convinced that you have to prioritize anyone from this team at their respective prices in DFS.
And that's a very fair point because it's one that we don't really want to get stars in our eyes. And we don't know where everybody's going to be. They haven't really gelled yet. They've run so many different lineup combinations. They've been missing people, et cetera, et cetera. This is a little bit of a wild card. Plus, they have so many different people that can score. And we know that Walton's willing to shake things up and play stuff based off of matchups. So it does get a little tricky to figure out where they're going to go with some of their unknowns. On the other side here for the Spurs, we, of course, have some discounted point guards, I guess would be the polite way of saying it. They are point guard eligible. Patty Mills, Bryn Forbes, those guys are – I'm still going to put them behind Cameron Payne for sure, even though Payne's a little bit more expensive. We've got in Rudy Gay, who has not had a really good game yet, but this is a perfectly good matchup setting up his skill set. Should be up and down, should be a lot of wing shots for him to take. We know he can still drive and get it done. And then DeMar DeRozan is kind of intriguing at 8,500 along with Aldridge at 9,000. You've mentioned some of these high-end guys. We've got Davis on Giannis on a back-to-back. We've got LeBron up there, really, really pricey. We can live with probably 4 of these second-tier guys on our squads, Adam. Is that something you would consider this evening?
Well, I wanted to add on real quick to what I said about the Lakers. JaVale McGee is easily my favorite play from there. He's just playing such big minutes for the Lakers. He's still relatively inexpensive. He's a per-minute production monster. So McGee is my favorite play from the Lakers. But from the Spurs side, I like I said, I have interest in Aldridge. I have interest in DeRozan. It's just that it's hard to prioritize them over some other guys at cheaper price tags. When they faced the Lakers on the 22nd, you had LaMarcus Aldridge started at center. Dante Cunningham started over Jakob Poeltl or Pau Gasol. Gasol ended up playing 18 minutes off the bench. His price tag is really nice at 4,400. Like, there's certainly a path for him to pay that off nicely, but it's purely as a tournament, kind of dart throw, because there's no reason to have confidence he plays more than 18 to 20 minutes here. I don't have interest in Patty Mills. Rudy Gay I can get behind just because he's probably going to play 28 to 30 minutes in a fast-paced game. It's I don't know. It's just hard to have confidence in any of the secondary players from this team other than, Aldridge and DeRozan.
All right, let's hit up the last game of the night here. Orlando, Milwaukee. Again, the final 2 games are being played at 8:30 this evening, so you won't have to stay up super duper late. And good God, if you're on the West Coast, you can watch the games, then you can go out and have some fun, as long as you're younger than me. If you're older than me, no, you're going to bed. Probably be in bed by the 4th quarter, Adam. That's the shame of even though these games are starting at 8:30. Don't ever get old. Don't ever get old, Adam. It sucks. Giannis, amazing. Nikolai Vucevic seemingly going to get the edge over Mr. Mamba there. Chris Middleton, often forgotten. Eric Bledsoe, discounted. Aaron Gordon. Let's talk about him. Is he going to draw the efforts to stop Giannis?
I would think so. I would think so. We've seen Orlando obviously under different coaching, but we've seen Gordon have some success in the past defending, the superstar from the other team. He's even defended James Harden in previous games. So I would expect that he draws the assignment. I don't think it's going to matter. Giannis is just an absolute monster. There's no way, I don't think, to stop him. And Giannis, again, is going to be my favorite expensive play on the slate, which I think is going to be the case every single game this season. To me, there's just no one really comparable to him. Anthony Davis is probably the closest, but I've said it before. I think the most reasonable comp to this year's Giannis is Russell Westbrook from 2015 or 2016, whatever year it was that Durant was injured and Westbrook was the entire team. Giannis is just going to have a monster usage rate all season long. He's going to have a monster rebounding percentage because he was already, a good rebounder. And then you have Brook Lopez there to box out and let Giannis just take the ball off the glass and start in transition. He's obviously getting a ton of assists. Lofty pointed out yesterday how many wide open looks, defined as, 3-point shots with where the defender is more than 6 feet away, Milwaukee's getting with 3 guys in the top 10 in the NBA. And that's, a direct reflection on Giannis's ability to draw in the defense and get his guys, perfectly good looks. So the assist percentage is obviously going to be there, as a percentage of the team's assists, but I expect them to also be efficient off of his passes. So there's just nothing not to like about Giannis ever. And this is, another spot where I think he should go out and have a good game. It helps that he only played 23 minutes last night, so it's not even like it's a true back-to-back. He dealt with some foul trouble, and then the game blew out. Orlando so far this season has allowed the 9th most points per possession in transition, which plays to Giannis's strengths as well. People keep not rostering him to the level that he should be in tournaments. Anthony Davis was higher owned last night, which is absolutely absurd. That shouldn't happen. And I assume that LeBron's probably going to be higher owned tonight. That shouldn't happen. So I'm going to keep just piling Giannis in any format and making money from him whenever the Bucks don't blow the other team out by 30.
All right, couple discount plays that are going to be under the radar for any of you guys dabbling over there on Yahoo. Evan Fournier at 19 is a phenomenal option. Jonathan Isaac at 16 is very good. We've seen his minutes trend up. He is taking on more and more of a role and getting comfortable with it. He is someone that I was targeting in season-long leagues because he was going way under drafted. And then if you need an extreme guy, you've got at $10, which is the Yahoo minimum, is DJ Augustine. There may be other good $10 and $11 guys that pop up with news throughout the day, but if you're looking for a placeholder option, he is not too shabby. He also plays in the last game of the night. They do have late swap over there at Yahoo. So if you want to leave yourself an out, or you've got an emergency pick and you only got $12 or $13 and that person sits, you can always go down to him and not be drawing dead. So that's something that is key. We're going to dip on out of here, but reminder, if you use the promo code NBA Strategy, you will get a free week of Osmo premium content that includes everything, including, wait for it, the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. Adam is going to go back into the laboratory, and he's going to start writing the deeper dive. That will be the premium article behind the paywall. We've got projections that will be coming up, ownership projections, all sorts of good stuff. Oh, and if you're looking for a little bit of free, because you're still here on YouTube, you do on the front page of Osmo.com have the Sunday night single game contest. This one is going to be a good one. It's the New Orleans Saints heading up into Minnesota. The site, Adam, if you remember it, that would be the Minneapolis Miracle. If you recall, Stephon Diggs with the walk-off touchdown. Last play of the game, defender fell down as he was leaping over him, caught it, cradled it, stayed in bounds, went for a score. No time left on the clock. What a game. This should be a good one. And lastly, smash the like buttons. I know I'm involved. I know the tech always goes a little bit awry when I'm involved, but new computer will be in the mix next weekend. Thanks to Josh for bailing us out. With that, gamers, good luck.